You're going to keep your baby?
Yes.
How do you feel about being pregnant? I mean...
I don't know. I wasn't happy about it at first at all, but now I'm really happy that I'm going to have my kid.
Yes, but you're not sure about the relationship you might have with these other two men, are you?
No.
Do you care if they walk out of your life?
No, not really.
You really don't?
Mm-mm.
You're going to be able to raise this baby on your own? You're 16.
I'm going to have a little bit of help from my father, but other than that, I'm doing it on my own.
Your parents were divorced when you were 15?
My stepmom and my dad were.
I see. So so your dad had custody, did he, on the occasion of his divorce from your mother?
Yes.
How old were you when that happened?
A year and a half.
Oh, right after you came, your folks split.
Yep.
But your father took custody of you.
Yes.
And you still have a good relationship with your father?
Yes.
Do you ever see your mother?
Not very often.
I mentioned that you're 7 months pregnant. Heather, you're 15 years old.
Yes.
And you became pregnant at age 13.
Yes.
Your baby's name is Misty.
Yes.
And you're raising your baby.
Yes.
You love her very much.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm. It's motherhood's neat, huh?
Yes, but I wouldn't recommend it at a young age. It's kind of hard.
You heard me talking, these personal questions, obviously you don't have to tell us anything you don't want to tell us, but we want to understand this.
Huh? Well,
Smart person like yourself, how come?
I was 13, I was living with my grandparents, and I just felt like I wanted to be more independent and didn't want to live there. I wanted to live on my own. So me and my baby's father decided to have a baby, and that would get me out of their house. And so it was a little while after that, after everybody was fighting about me getting an abortion and putting me in a hospital because I thought I was crazy because I wouldn't get an abortion. That's when my baby's father decided he wanted to get married, and so I moved in with him. Well, that didn't work out, so I was put in the Division of Family Services custody. That's the state. And then I was brought to Mother's Refuge, and well, 2 days, I ran from there.
Mother's Refuge being a place that accommodates young women in your circumstance. You ran away.
Yes.
You're how old? You're 15.
15.
You already, And while you were pregnant, you ran away.
When I got pregnant, I was on the run then. But then I was found the day later.
You were on the run at age 13. And you let a young man impregnate you at age 13.
Yes.
And this is the young man who's still...
Well, he's getting ready to leave for the Navy.
Okay, but you never did get married?
No.
You thought about it and you lived together and...
Well, then my mom was crazy about the idea and didn't want her baby girl getting married, so she turned me into the state.
She was upset about you?
Yes.
Right. And how old was the father of your baby?
16.
At the time. So that's over?
Yes.
You have your baby?
Yes.
You're living at your mother's place?
No. I'm living with foster parents, because then I went back to Mother's Refuge after I ran, and then I was there for a year and a half and finished the program, and now me and my daughter have moved on to a foster home, a family situation.
So you're reasonably steady now? You're not employed?
No.
It's Lakeisha? Lakeisha, you're from Kansas City. You're at Mother's Refuge as well, huh?
Yes.
In Kansas City. So you know some of these people on our stage here. You got pregnant at age 16.
Yes.
And your baby's name is...
Jaquan.
Jaquan, born August of last year. You're a beautiful child. Is the father of your baby in your life?
Well, we still talk, but we're not together.
And how old is he?
He's 25.
And we're upset about this, as you know. It looks like older men are exploiting younger women for sex and then walking away from the pregnancy. Is that what happened?
Yes.
You don't care.
Yeah, I care.
You wish the father of your baby was in his life. Or
Yes.
her life.
It's a boy. He's a boy.
Him, sorry. He isn't, though.
No.
And you're living where?
At Mother's Refuge.
So your baby's how old now, then?
He's 6 months.
6 months. Kathleen Sylvester, you're a vice president for domestic policy at the Progressive Policy Institute in Washington. This is a think tank, is
Right.
it? You did a study of teenage pregnancy.
I did.
Well, we could use another one of those, but what are you finding out about the fathers? I mean, there was something very interesting about your results. Just give us a sense of it, and then we'll explore it further detail after we make our break. But tell us what you learned.
Well, like most people, I assumed that teenage mothers were having babies with teenage fathers, you know, and that it was, you know, the kind of sex that happened in the backseat of a car. I traveled around the country, I visited homes like these,
Right.
and I kept hearing stories about the older men. And recently we've gotten some numbers, and we've discovered that, in fact, about 60% of the fathers of all teenage girls' babies are men over 20.
60?
60%. Now, that's not so bad if the mom is 18 years old and the father is 21. That's not a big difference. But the age gap spreads, and the younger the mother, the older the father. So if the girl is 13, and I'm saying girl because I consider a 13-year-old a girl, the man is probably in his 20s. And that's too big an age gap. That's too big a power difference. A 16-year-old girl can probably say no to a 16-year-old boy, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not always.
But can we not say that we've always had the leering older men on the prowl for younger women? What's new about this today?
What's new about this is that we have a lot of unstable families. There are a lot more opportunities. Young women are growing up in homes where there's not a dad. A dad is the, you know, in the old days, the dad was the guy who ran off the, you know, a man who was inappropriate.
Right.
We've got young women who don't have fathers of their own, and older men are attractive. It's a status symbol. It's a good way to rebel against your mother. If you want to get your mother mad at you,
Bring
just
home
go
a
out with
25-year-old guy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there are a lot of factors.
The issue of teenage pregnancy, where these young women will go now that they are or are about to become mothers, is at the issue at hand. We have a number of young high school students here today, most of whom are not pregnant, who should have more than a passing interest in this issue as we try to figure out what's got everybody everybody is a buzz about the issue of teenage pregnancy. We're upset at what it costs us. We're upset at what many of us see as sort of as irresponsible behavior. We're mad as hell. Some of us want to throw the men in jail who make you pregnant. What do the laws say? Can we do that? That's what we need, more people in jail. We'll talk to you about what you think ought to be done when we come back in just a moment. Governor Wilson of California has appropriated money, committed money to finding the fathers. Do I understand this?
That's right.
Now, we might ask you this question. Is it worse for a 25-year-old to sleep with a 16-year-old than it is for an 18-year-old to sleep with a 16-year-old? Yes. It is? So you want to send the 25-year-old guy to jail? You want to send the 18-year-old guy to jail? How about 19? Should the penalty be greater if the age spread is greater? And what should the penalty do, and what age spread is appropriate? And what are you going to do in court when the guy says, she told me she was 23 and she had lipstick on and her hair was combed real nice and she had a cocktail dress on and I thought for all the world she was 26, not 23? Did these issues present themselves to you during your research? I would ask you, Ms. Sylvester of the the Progressive Policy Institute.
We looked at those questions, and we don't have a lot of answers. We know a couple of things about the pattern. There are laws on the books, and the laws on the books have generally been sensibly written. In most cases, they take into account the age difference, not just the age, so that if a 19-year-old young man had sex with a 17-year-old, and in that state 17 was underage, it wouldn't be a stiff penalty. It probably wouldn't get prosecuted. We know that they take into account if there's a relationship of trust. If it's your science teacher who gets you pregnant, obviously he should be punished more severely because, or a minister, someone who's trusted. And so it's not just a black and white, you know, a young woman under a certain age is fair game. But the cases never go to court. They rarely go to court, and in fact, a man who rapes a 25-year-old on the street who he's never even met will serve less jail time than an uncle who has sex with a 13-year-old who lives in his own home.
And those who study these things, the Guttmacher Institute, for example, make the point it's very difficult to recreate the dynamics of this kind of transaction. What happened? Was she coquettish, and why shouldn't she be? You're allowed to flirt. That's natural behavior. What were the circumstances of the meeting? Where did they meet? Do they meet in a bar? What's an underage person doing in a bar? How was the guy supposed to know? This gets very, very complicated. Karen Gaddis is Executive Director of Mother's Refuge. These are some of your people, huh?
That's right.
How many young women do you accommodate at one time?
19.
You can take 19 pregnant?
We can take 11 pregnant women, and then we have a second phase of our program where 8 mothers and 8 babies stay. So altogether 19.
So obviously the people who choose or who avail themselves of your place in Kansas City,
yes,
have chosen to keep their babies or have their babies and perhaps surrender.
They've all chosen to have their babies.
Not to terminate the pregnancy.
Right. That's right.
What percentage of your girls, I hate to use it, but you probably use that phrase, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yes. What percentage of your pregnant young women surrender their babies to adoption?
Only about 10%. The other 90% choose to parent.
And most of your clients, I assume, are teenagers?
All of them are. The youngest resident we've had is 11. The oldest is 19.
11.
11.
Well, Ms. Gaddis, you have seen the world.
I've seen some of the world in all of Kansas City, yes.
Well, that's a pretty good test. I mean, well, let's take Kansas City. It's a very important, that's a good laboratory. I mean, how's it different? Maybe a little smaller than some cities, a little larger than others?
A little smaller, in the middle of the Midwest, in the middle of the Bible Belt.
Ms. Gaddis, the entire United States Congress is on its ear.
It's about time.
Well, do you want to get tough? And what's going on here? Tell me, you know, what do you know now that you're in the trenches?
Tell me what I know about teenage pregnancy.
Why is this happening?
Why is it happening? It happens for all kinds of reasons. Young ladies, like these young ladies, choose to get pregnant. Some choose not to get pregnant. Like Susan told you, they think it's not going to happen to them. They may be in a dysfunctional family situation. They're needing some attention. They think they want to keep a young man in their life, and the way to do it is have a baby with him. Heather told you she got pregnant to get away from home. All kinds of reasons why they choose to parent children. What they don't choose to do is get married. Many times marriage for them is much more serious. Having a baby is not near as serious in their mind and in their eyes.
Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a tape here. I mean, the chances are that this boy will father a child or this girl will have a child earlier. Isn't that so?
That's true.
So if your mother was a teenage person when you were born,
chances are you're going to be a teenage mother too.
And obviously we're talking...
When I worked in Kansas City at Truman Medical Center, Keisha's mother was a patient of mine at 15. And Keisha now at 15 lives in my shelter. So I'm seeing the third generation of Keisha's family in 27 years of social work that I've done.
Yeah. Can we fix this by locking up the men?
No.
Can we fix this by depriving second pregnancies any benefits if you're an unwed teenager?
No. We can fix this by instilling some self-esteem in young people.
Well, you know, if it occurs to you, maybe along the way you'll think of an opportunity to applaud the host, too. This is very serious stuff here, and I appreciate your insight. What else? Self-esteem.
Self-esteem. We can fix this by giving young people other directions, by giving them other alternatives, by keeping everybody busy and happy and healthy, and from good families where they can get the kinds of care and love and support they need.
Yeah. Now, this is I'm going to sound like every gray hair on my head here.
Okay.
I'm going to sound like Father Time.
All right.
And don't let me patronize you. You're allowed to speak. You don't have to have permission. I do not believe that the pregnant young women on our stage, talented, insightful people, all, these are bright young women.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they yet really get it. I don't believe they understand how totally their lives have been altered.
I don't think that they all do either, but I think they're learning every day. And I think they're going to continue to learn every day. And I think they can get the message to other young people that this is not the best situation that you want to take on. At 11, at 12, and at 13, and I have many young ladies that at that age group, you can't tell them what parenting is going to be like. They don't even understand. And that's true. But you also cannot force someone to not have a child that they want to have. What you have to do, and what I've learned in my experience is, if you take away a baby from somebody who wants to keep it, they're only going to have another one until somebody lets them keep one. That's what's going to happen. So what you have to do is work with these young ladies and educate them and love them and care for them and support them and tell them that there are other things they can do besides parent children and show them how to do it.
And love their baby at the same time.
And love their baby at the same time. And maybe Heather at 13 has one child, but at 23 she won't have 6. That's the best we can hope for.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Be a part of the studio audience. For free tickets, write to Donahue Tickets, 1 Penn Plaza, New York, New York, 10119. Or call toll-free 1-800-684-5950. That's 1-800-684-5950.
Yes. Oh, you. I'm sorry. Please.
Had a teacher when I was in high school that told us every day as we left, keep your pants on and dance all night. I'm now a high school teacher myself, and I greet my students the same way as they leave each day. Keep your pants on and dance all night.
Does it work? Anybody? You want to get in this thing? You all turn your hymnals to page 26. This makes us nervous, doesn't it? We're a little giggly, aren't we? All these people pregnant. But let's understand this. When you hear about it, or you read about it in the paper, you get mad as hell. You are angry. It's very difficult to be angry at these lovely faces here because we have real live people here. But here are the statistics that have turned especially the conservative Republican Party inside out. They can't wait to throw somebody in jail or to deny benefits to somebody who has a baby out of wedlock. You wanted to say, my friend.
Yes, I want to ask the panelists, what about your concerns about your health risk? I mean, not only is teenage pregnancy a problem, but HIV is also rampant among teens.
Not to mention all those other things out there. Yes. You didn't think of that. You know, you just don't. You don't think about it.
Well, it was an issue with my family. That's one thing my family was really worried about. I was 13 and going to have a baby, and they didn't think at all that my body was prepared at 13.
They must have been shook,
devastated.
They cried. Mm-hmm. Who wouldn't? 13? Ah.
And, you know, there was a chance that I could have died at birth with my daughter. She could have lived and I could have died, and she would have never known me. And it was scary, more that I got close to delivery, to know that, you know, this may be it for me.
But there's a lot of those microbes out there that'll get you. Not, you know, certainly HIV, but others, maybe not fatal, but some of them forever. I don't know. Have you had any lectures on this?
No, but where I go for my prenatal appointments, they test us. They take our blood test, and so, I mean... You'll have some information about your own physical well-being. All right, more of these high school students with hands in the air, and we'll get to them in just a moment.
Tobacco companies make a product that, if used as intended, kills.
Victims versus tobacco companies, next Donahue.
We saw a statistic that in 1920, the fathers were even older, impregnating young girls. What's the difference?
Marriage. In 1920, when those older men were marrying young women. What we've got now is people used to begin to have sex at 16 or 17, and they married at 17 or 18. And at 17 or 18, with a high school education or even something short of that, you could support a family. Not anymore. Now the average age of marriage is in the mid-20s, and the average age that young people are beginning to have sex is in the low teens.
Yes.
So you've got all those years.
Right. And we do have cultures wherein 20 years is maybe the mean average separation in age between the father and the husband and the wife.
That's right.
Now that's old world stuff. I don't know how much of that is left, but the legacy lives with us.
But the question that we're really addressing here is very young women. I mean, some of these young women just said they didn't think they could get pregnant. I mean, when you're a teenager, you don't think you can get pregnant. You don't think you can get AIDS. It's your ability to think about cause and effect. If I do this, this will happen, kicks in at about age 16. So we need to protect young women from people who can take advantage of them. Throwing men in jail is not the whole answer to this problem. Giving them alternative things to do, making them feel good about themselves. But it's part of the problem. When a 25-year-old who's got a car is waiting for you when you leave junior high school, you know, when he takes you out and he makes lots of promises, it's very hard.
He's older, he's more mature, he's father-like, he's stable, he loves me, I must be special because he's an older guy.
Right.
He's smarter than all my peers. These guys I go to school with are dorks anyway. Look at this big guy with 25...
You got it. And how could she say no to him? Very difficult.
Would less girls become pregnant if the sexual education system in the schools were better? If you're told, like, not just what birth control you were supposed to use, then what would happen if you become pregnant, like how you should act? In our school, they teach sexual education, but we're going to do what we want to do. Right.
So all the knowledge in the world isn't going to prevent? Because it is pretty clear. The more information you have, the more responsible people behave. If you tell the truth to young people, you at least enhance the chances that they will protect themselves or get through adolescence without this kind of distraction. Just a thought. You're saying maybe not, huh?
The sex education won't end the problem of pregnancy.
No,
that's not going to happen.
It won't end it. The question is whether it could make it less acute. That's the issue.
Not without a reason. You've got to give young people a reason to say no, as well as information on how everything works.
We have not met Carol Haas. You are program director of Bridgeway. That's a home and education center for pregnant teens and their babies in Colorado.
Right.
Denver?
Denver, Colorado. Yeah.
So you are a professional sister then of Karen Gaddis.
That's right.
And you have teenage mothers, do you?
We do. We do. We have about 25 moms we can take. We have 2 different facilities. And I hear the gasps from the crowd as you hear their stories. Who here hasn't made a mistake? And what I think we need to understand now is what we can do about it. Not condemn someone, but give them some support. Give them intense support. Their wells are empty. Let's help fill them up.
Yeah, we will. We agree. We agree, but we also... We'd like to prevent this.
Educate, educate, educate. We have 104 classes a year, and we already get them pregnant. So the best we can do is try not to get that second pregnancy, and we are having good luck with that.
That's interesting. You agree with what
I absolutely agree. The first pregnancy is a done deal by the time they come to us. So let's educate them, give them self-esteem, and maybe that works for the high schools. Give the kids some self-esteem.
Yeah. My sense is that you, as a professional person, having looked over the landscape, there's obviously, you don't write in granite here. There's different things. But you want that young woman, teenager, to keep the baby, don't you?
No, not necessarily. We also have an adoption support team. We will support them whatever decision they make.
But we do have the testimony here of Karen, who makes the point that if they keep the baby, they're less likely to have another one. That flies in the face of stereotypical thinking.
I think if they get an education and they can realize that adoption is a very viable option, the last 5 out of 6 of our babies have been placed for adoption, which is high, because we've been working a lot more on the education around the adoption issue. But we will support them, like Michelle's going to parent, and we will support her and help her be the best parent she can be.
And it's the young woman's decision.
Absolutely her decision to do.
Do you have any money?
We go begging. We do a lot of begging.
How are you funded?
We have a small grant from HUD, which we have to match locally in the community in order to have it matched. So, and we do a lot of churches, individuals,
and how many
a lot
do
of
you
volunteers.
accommodate?
25 girls plus their babies, but not all of them have babies there.
Well, it's all coming to the states now.
It's coming, I hope. We need it.
The Republican Congress is going to make it about the states and the Episcopal Trinity Episcopal Church.
And we'll be there to help them because there's a big need.
I wonder, though, if there's going to be enough money, enough checks written to do this at the state level. I mean,
there's enough girls.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in just a moment. Sir.
Chastity ain't cheap. With schools closing before children get to see their parents at night, that is the prime time hours that they're being raped. Why is Congress closing the schools down and practically giving the children to the pedophiles before the parents get home?
Well, let's make this point. Thank you for your thoughtful question. There is such a thing as statutory rape. That's about older and younger and someone that the court would deem not capable of decision. That's statutory rape. But we have consensual sex here resulting in these pregnancies. So this is not about pedophilia. This is about the social intercourse underway in some communities with some young women who, you're right about that, have no one at home, and will now ask the expert to kindly, Miss Sylvester.
It's very difficult to have sex in school. So if they're in school, they're not going to be having sex.
Well,
so we'll have a 24-hour school then. Briefly.
What we know about sexual activity is that it may come as a surprise to some Republicans, but all teenagers are having sex at about the same ages. The difference is that a lot of middle-class teenagers have reasons to avoid pregnancy. They're more likely to contracept, and they are more likely to have an abortion if they do become pregnant. Also, their parents do the time-honored thing, which the lady up there mentioned. They keep them busy. I talked to a pediatrician who runs a very successful teenage pregnancy prevention program, and she said, we just keep them busy. We keep them running. We keep them singing. We keep them in homework clubs. So there's something to that argument.
I agree with you that we need to educate our youngsters, but I really feel that we need to educate the parents as well and make them more involved in their children's lives.
Yes, we agree. Yes, ma'am? Okay.
I would never condemn anyone who has stepped over the line, so to speak, but I'm a grandmother and I'm a retired educator, and I believe that somewhere along the line that we have omitted deep family and spiritual values, and I think that's where our education has to come and make a basis to help young people and everyone else make the right decisions once it's done, and then we must help them, of course, but I'm concerned with the beforehand.
Yes, indeed. Please, briefly. Stand, please.
When they say that it's like a pattern with the mothers and then the daughters having babies, it's the truth, but you need to put your priorities first about what you're going to do with your life before trying to put priorities for somebody else.
They know that now.
If the man was so good to have a baby with, why didn't you marry him?
No. Come on, you're going to applaud this? That's... They wish they could, I assume.
Because not all the guys were worthy of marrying. Having sex and getting married are two different things.
That's true, Susan. But, you know, you just have to forgive us. So we're going to, this is not personal, but there is this feeling, why then did you have sex with him if he was not worthy of your...
At the time, they seemed like such a great person, but then when you got to know them, they wasn't so great about themselves.
That's a very honest answer. Thank you.
I'd like to say that school has nothing to do with sex. You could, if you wanted to have sex, you could just cut school, and having it open would do nothing.
That's true.
Right. You can send us to school all day. That's just going to make us more irritant to skip school than to be there.
Yeah. You're first when we come back in just a moment. Thank you.
For a transcript of Donahue, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Or call 303-831-9000. To order a video cassette for only $24.95, just call 1-800-FOR-VIDEO.
You have a name for your baby, Susan?
No, I don't.
How about you, Lori?
No.
Michelle?
Yeah, it's going to be Alexander Michael.
So you know it's a boy?
Yes.
From, you had the
I had an
sonogram?
ultrasound done.
Sonogram, yes.
Yeah, I would like to know, what are your plans for the future after you get out of the programs that you're in?
Well, I'm taking GED classes now, and my plans for the future is to be a deputy juvenile officer.
Really?
Because I know so much about it.
I wanted to know, how long do the programs house these people?
How long are you accommodated by these facilities, please?
For 18 months, Bridgeway total.
So you would have then potentially, have your prenatal care there, your baby's born, and then you get at least 6 months
That's
to
right,
get
to
on
get on your feet and get going. And I just like to say, expect the best, because if we set deadlines, expect the best, that's when they rise to what we expect, because teenagers are a very hopeful lot.
Yes. But you've heard all this, there's such hue and cry. We are terrified by this.
Yes.
We are, many of us, very, very angry. We think these kids just have no discipline. How come, after all the good and the discipline that we were, what's happening? What would you say to them?
I would say just expect them to do well, and they will. And you just stand behind them as a community and give them a deadline that we're going to stand behind you, but we know you can do it, and go forward and do it.
That's right. We at Mother's Refuge try to replace the family that they don't have. And young ladies can stay with us up until their child is 3 years old. And that gives us 3 to 4 years to undo some damage. You can't undo it in 6 months.
I think we now need to start educating our sons also. There's too much
Isn't that so?
too much in the media about being
through DNA testing and whatnot, and you girls know who your fathers of these children are. I haven't heard one of you say that they're supporting them in any financial
Yeah, the
means.
fathers appear to have gotten a pass here.
No,
You do not.
the father of my baby, he supports.
I'm sorry, let's try with Lakeisha, you were saying.
My baby's father's on child support now, so.
He does provide child support.
No,
he does
I
now.
just put him on there. Put him on child support.
You just put the father of your baby.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Put him on child support. You mean you turned him in?
Yes.
So then they come and get him and say, you got to pay child support or else we're going to take you to the pokey?
Yep.
That's what happens. How about you?
My baby's father is on child support right now. I have one possible father that is supportive. The other one, I don't want him to have anything to do with the baby at all, so.
My baby father, he's supportive.
He's not.
My baby's father's gone.
Yeah. You
He's
see,
out of there.
but there's already a citizen here angry that these men are not taking responsibility. Some are. But that's the case. And you can just, you let them go. That surprises us. Sir, you ready to catch this? There you go. You wanted to say briefly, please.
I just wanted to know, a lot of these ladies look older than they are. When they go out, do they tell their real ages?
I used to
hide.
Did you ever lie?
No, I have a lot, but I don't no more.
You don't anymore.
I don't do that anymore.
Give that to this young man here. You want to say, this young woman back here has been waiting. Yes, please.
I want to tell all of y'all just to keep y'all head up, because I'm a teenage mother too. I'm 18 years old and I'm finished with school. Just go to college because you can make it. Don't let nobody put you down, because you can make it. Just as long as you put your head to it, you can make it.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
Tobacco companies make a product that, if used as intended, kills.
Victims versus tobacco companies, next Donahue.
Hi, I'd just like to make one comment and one correction.
Please.
In that you said that if they keep their babies, that they won't have any more.
That was suggested by Karen. I'm not trying to pretend I know.
No, not you. I just want to make a correction.
Right, okay.
What we are saying is that when the young women are forced to place their babies for adoption, they will get pregnant again to replace. That's a decision that
Karen
they
said.
have to make themselves.
Yes, we appreciate your making that clear to us. Yes, young woman wanted to say.
I think that a lot of teenage girls
Yes.
are getting involved in serious relationships.
Yes.
And that's what ends up with babies, you know, because I'm a teen mother and I was in a 2-year relationship. And now I have a 4-month-old daughter, but I was with him for 2 years before.
How old was he when you were with him?
18.
And you were?
Both. And I was 17.
And is he out of your life now?
No, he's with me. He supports his daughter.
Good for him. Yeah.
I think what they have to do is tell children from an early age, especially girls, that their self-worth is very high, and not just when they become sexual.
And you don't have to have a man in your life every moment. Yes.
I was just wondering if there's funding available for you to go back to school or to continue.
I'm still in school. I graduate next year.
And there is some help for you. Let us say this before we close. Your babies are lucky to have you as mothers. You're going to love your babies. Thank you for sharing with us your own personal
Services
story.
provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
If hair could talk, it would beg for Salon Systems Conair, a new line of professional problem solvers, the cure for bad day hair. Discover a whole new world online with America Online, the easy, fun way to explore. To get your free 15-hour trial with no obligation, call 1-800-449-1300. Give it a try.
1-800-US-SEARCH. Locate almost anyone for only $39.95 plus $10 processing. Call Nick and Rob. 1-800-US-SEARCH.